Field now stacking up double file behind Brian Campbell and Derek Griffin down the back straightaway. Starting to pick up the pace through turns 3 and 4. Green flag waving from the flag stand, and we are back racing with 80 laps to go here in the 7-Up 150. On the break, side by side, down into turn number 1. Derek Griffin getting up into that speedy dry over in turn 2, losing a little bit of traction. That's going to allow Brian Campbell to jump out to a 2-car length lead.
Nate Hosley now diving to the inside of the 25 of Derek Griffin in turn 2. They race side by side. Little sparks from the 87 on the bottom of Hosley. He's going to get the spot down the backstretch.
Nate Hosley, the highest running ARCA Midwest Tour driver, currently in that second spot. Side-by-side battle now for third between Chad Finley and Derek Griffin through turns 1 and 2. Give that third spot to Derek Griffin, to Finley, but Griffin doing a good job holding tough up in that outside groove.
Finley has the preferred groove. Our fast qualifier of the night had to start back in the 8th position. Now slowly, methodically, working his way up to the 3rd position, tries to drift up a little bit into Griffin. Griffin having none of it, fighting his way back on the outside in turn 3.
Derek Griffin really doing a good job in that outside groove. We haven't seen many drivers able to keep that car wound up in that top lane, but Griffin doing a great job, although he is going to fall back into the clutches of Ross Kenseth, now running side by side for that 4th position down the backstretch.
Kenseth making light work of Griffin. Now here comes the 29 Anderson Bowen. There's contact, and the 25 of Griffin sideways now on the front straightaway does a great move, keeps going, no caution. What a move by Derek Griffin.
Fantastic job of driving by Derek Griffin out of turn number 4 that time. He gets up into the Bobby Watson, but it looks like Watson may actually have an issue on that race car, and indeed he does. The caution flag is going to stop, caution flag is going to come out. We're going to stop racing, and Brandon Watson having a tough break as a mechanical failure on the number 9 car puts us under the caution flag for the 6th time here this afternoon.
And right before that caution, I was watching the battle between Anderson Bowen and Ross Kenseth for that 4th position, and Anderson Bowen was able to clear him, get around him. Now and this is the strategy that Bowen said that they wanted to play, wanted to be back in 7th, 8th, or 9th for the first segment and really get hard on it about lap 90, and he's following every bit of that strategy now as he's raced his way up to the 4th position.
Somewhere along 10 years ago, something clicked with Scott Hansen, Toledo Speedway, and he has been a solid threat to win. Doesn't matter what type of race car he was in here, whether it was the ARCA Gold Cup late models, the Outlaw style cars, or the template body cars. Does not matter. Scott Hansen has been solid here just about every time he has been here over the last 10 years, as we do indeed see the one to go signal from the flag stand. Everybody doubling up side by side. Again, Brian Campbell, Nate Hosley on the front row, Chad Finley, Anderson Bowen in row 2, Ross Kenseth and Donnie Wilson row 3, Scott Hance, Cody Coughlin, Paul Schaefer, and John Island, your top 10 drivers, as the field now picks up the pace through turns 3 and 4. Green flag waving from the flag stand, and wow, Brian Campbell got a little sideways out of turn number 4 when he got on the gas. That's going to give Nate Hosley a chance to maybe take the lead down the back straightaway.
Hosley peeks the nose right out in front, but the 47 of Campbell on the bottom, the preferred line through turns 3 and 4, gets his nose out in front. He'll lead the lap of the stripe, lap 91 on the board.
Nate Hosley finally dropping in line behind Brian Campbell through turns 1 and 2, but still good side-by-side racing for that 3rd spot between Anderson Bowen and Chad Finley. Bowen in the high groove, working hard to the outside of Chad Finley. Bowen by a foot here at the stripe, but Chad Finley not giving up any ground through turns 1 and 2. Finley to the inside, down the back straightaway.
Finley a little bit loose in the middle of turn 2, but kept the gas pedal down as he's able to drive by and clear Anderson Bowen. Now Ross Kenseth all over the back end of Anderson Bowen as they cross the start-finish line, head for turn 1.
Ross Kenseth in the 2nd Boyne Machine automobile here this weekend in the number 77 car. Talked to him down on the grid. Had he been able to stay up at the front of the field, he's got a race car that could have kept him there, but tough break for that driver out of South Bend, Indiana, as Brian Campbell continuing to lay waste to the field here this afternoon.
And we question this possible very quick pace as we're coming up to 4 to go of Brian Campbell. Could he last all 150 laps? But he has.
And here we go, Tim. Caution flag going to come out with just a handful of laps to go. This is exactly what Anderson Bowen was looking for.
just needed that clean racetrack. Now he's not going to have any lap cars, as we're going to have a double
Not
file
only is he
restart.
not going to have any lap cars, he's going to line up directly on the right side door of Brian Campbell with just 4 laps to go to settle it here in the 7-up 150.
And this young man has been close to victory, Charlie. Finished 4th last month at Mobile with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, then went over to South Alabama Speedway with the Southern Super Series and finished runner-up. He was 3rd last weekend at Nashville, so he's been knocking on the door of getting into victory lane. Be huge tonight if he could break through and win victory number 1.
You know, we were kind of joking about it a little bit. Some of the luck that Anderson Bowen had last year, we saw him maybe was not as hard as the Donnie Rivers crash. He had a really hard wreck at Salem a year ago, and followed it up with maybe not that hard, not as hard, but another equally spectacular crash in October at the Martinsville Speed. Actually knocked the body off of his race car. It was such a hard hit. He's had some just bad luck. And, he's finally been able to keep everything in one piece, able to get to the end of the race. And here he is challenging for the win against a guy, like I said, who could get around this racetrack with his eyes closed. Anderson Bowen doing a great job here today, putting himself in position to potentially steal the win against one of the guys who is as good as it gets here at Toledo Speedway. I always joke about it on Twitter, green-white wreckers. When we get late in the race, we don't have a 2-lap dash to the checkered, but everything is on the line in this 5-lap dash. Do you think we make it caution-free?
It's going to be interesting because you have Anderson Bowen, who's searching for that first win, and Chad Finley is looking for a little bit of redemption at Toledo after the last 2 years, the bad luck he's had. I don't think we have. I think that caution will fly again. But then again, that's why we run the race.
That's why we run the race. Everybody stacking up now down into turn 3 and 4. Brian Campbell, Anderson Bowen leading the field out of turn number 4, looking at the green flag on the brake. Anderson Bowen getting some momentum on the high side. Bowen trying to steal that lead down into turn 1 and 2, but boy, Brian Campbell getting a good drive off of turn 2. He stretches out a half-car length lead as they still battle side by side into turn 3.
Campbell clears him. Now let's see if Anderson Bowen can pull the crossover. We have a caution out, car in the wall over in turn 2.
Looks like the number 6 car of Brandon Hermiller getting turned sideways over in turn number 2. So let's just pretend that didn't happen. We're going to line them up and do it again. And I think if we have to do it all over again, there isn't anything Anderson Bowen's going to want to do differently. He did everything he needed to do on that restart. But Brian Campbell is just that good down on the low groove.
It's been real difficult to pass all day in the outside line. At the beginning, cars were able to maneuver past on the outside line, but in the second half of the portion of the race after lap 70, it's been pretty hard to pass on the outside line, but Anderson Bowen did a pretty good job sticking with Brian Campbell all the way down into turn 3 before that caution wave. So it's going to be interesting to see if the 16-year-old can do it all over again. But he got a great restart that looked to be a little bit of games there as Campbell took the throttle in turn 3 and Bowen didn't play. He fought back and almost had that lead going off into turn 1.
And we've got a 5-lap dash to the checkered between, again, it's back between youth and exuberance and old age and treachery. And you know who I'm going to take on this one.
Anderson Bowen does have a win at Watermelon Capital Speedway in 2012. Just getting a message from my good friend Michael McIntyre. So he does have one victory. Looking for that first win here at Toledo Speedway.
Good to know Racer Max paying attention to us up on the roof. 1 to go signal given that time by. We're halfway down the back straightaway. Field lining up side by side behind Brian Campbell and Anderson Bowen. Chad Finley, Nate Hasline in row 2. Ross Kenseth, Donnie Wilson in row 3. Green flag waving from the flag stand. We're back underway. And again, Anderson Bowen getting a good restart on the high groove, trying to take away that lead through turns 1 and 2, and Bowen getting the power down the backstretch. He's got a car length advantage off into turn 3, but again, Brian Campbell taking that car deep into the corner in turns 3 and 4, and Campbell leading it here at the stripe.
Youngster not giving an inch though, but Brian Campbell clears him now in turn 2. Chad Finley starting to close up. Can the 29 of Anderson Bowen close up with just coming to 3 to go? Half a car length now off turn 4.
Bowen was about a foot away of being clear from Brian Campbell, and Campbell just drove that car in deep down into turn number 3, and now Campbell starting to stretch that advantage, and here comes Anderson Bowen trying to keep Chad Finley in check behind him. So everybody in that top 5 feeling racy here is now Donnie Wilson looking to the inside of Nate Hasli to take over that 5th position down in turn 1.
Started in the 27th position all the way up inside the top 5, but Hasli tried pulling the crossover move, but Wilson slammed the door as now we have the white flag in the air for Brian Campbell one more time around Toledo Speedway.
Brian Campbell looking at the white flag. He's got 5 car lengths in hand on Anderson Bowen down the back straightaway. Brian Campbell, again, probably could close his eyes through turns 3 and 4. This time off of turn 4, he will be looking at the checkered flag, and Brian Campbell will be going to victory lane here in the 7-up 150. Anderson Bowen crossing the start-finish line in 2nd, Chad Finley in 3rd, Ross Kenseth coming home in 4th, and Donnie Wilson coming from 27th starting position to round out the top 5 in a fantastic 7-up 150 here this afternoon.
Fantastic race from start to finish. I mean, we had it all. I mean, there was action all over the place. Obviously, the drive of the day goes to Donnie Wilson, but how about Brian Campbell? He's going to run the CRA Super Series full-time this year. He's only done that one other time, and he finished runner-up in points in 2010. So starting off their season in a big fashion.
Nate Hasli had a great day this afternoon, but the car kind of went away from him there at the end. He faded to 6th at the finish. I really thought he was going to be a contender, for a good solid top 5. But what a day for young Anderson Bowen. This is a guy, last year we saw him for the very first time as a young 15-year-old. He was a little wild, a little unpredictable.